You've been told to fear debt, that it's how people lose everything, that it ruins lives. But if that were true, why do the richest people in the world use it more than anyone else? Something's off. Today, we're going to expose a side of money you were never meant to understand. Stay with me, because once you see how this really works, you won't see wealth the same way again. Let's start with what you've been taught. Consumer debt is everywhere. Credit cards, car payments, student loans, mortgages. It's the kind of debt that costs you money every single month. You borrow, you owe, you pay. That's how the system works. For most people. But for the wealthy, debt works very, very differently. They don't just borrow money, they move it, they grow it, and sometimes they never pay it back at all. Let me show you how this really plays out. Imagine a millionaire owns a $5 million piece of real estate. It's fully paid off. Most people would sit on that asset and feel safe. But the rich think differently. They go to the bank, they say, "This is mine. Let me borrow against it." The bank gives them $3 million at a low interest rate, tax-free. Now, instead of selling the property and triggering taxes, they borrow against it. They use the $3 million to buy more real estate, or invest in startups, or fund another income-producing machine. And the best part? They write off the interest. That's not debt. That's strategy. Here's where things get crazy. Let's say those new investments make them $600,000 a year in income. They use that income to pay back the loan. Now they own two appreciating assets. They paid no capital gains, they owe less in taxes, and they use the bank's money to multiply their wealth. This is what's called good debt. Debt that puts money into your pocket instead of taking it out. This is the playbook of the rich. And almost no one teaches it. Schools don't teach this. Why? Because the system doesn't want more players. It wants more payers. You're taught to borrow for things that depreciate: cars, college, furniture, gadgets. But never taught how to borrow to build. Because if you knew that, you'd stop asking for permission. You'd stop trading time for dollars. And you'd stop being controllable. The truth is, this playbook has been around for decades. The wealthy use it to stay wealthy. And the middle class never hears about it until it's too late. Let's get concrete. Example 1. Grant Cardone. Say what you will about him, but Cardone built a real estate empire using other people's money. He borrows hundreds of millions in debt to buy cash-flowing apartment complexes. Then he uses the rental income to service that debt, while the properties appreciate in value. He gets tax breaks, passive income, and asset growth, all with debt. Example 2. Elon Musk. Elon owns billions in Tesla stock. But instead of selling it and paying capital gains tax, he borrows against his shares. He gets liquid cash without giving up ownership, and he said it openly. Selling stock is stupid if you don't have to. Example 3. Smart entrepreneurs. Less famous, but just as sharp. Small business owners who borrow to fund digital product launches, marketing campaigns, or even acquisitions. Instead of saving for 10 years, they buy time with debt. Then they use cash flow to pay it back. They understand that controlled debt can be an accelerator, not an anchor. That's the fear, right? What if I borrow and it doesn't work? That's a fair question. Here's the answer. The rich don't gamble with debt. They mitigate risk. They only borrow against productive assets. They have a clear plan for ROI, and they keep multiple income streams to cover downside. They don't YOLO into debt. They build a cushion first. They do the math. Debt is a tool, not a lottery ticket. If you use it right, it's a shortcut. If you don't, it's a trap. That's why you need to learn how to use it, not just avoid it. If you want to start using debt like the wealthy, here's a simple ladder. Clean your credit. Your score is your reputation. Treat it like gold. Build an income stream. Debt without income is dangerous. Borrow to grow, not consume. Only use debt to create more income. Protect the downside. Always ask, what's the worst case? Scale with intelligence. Add leverage slowly, not all at once. This isn't about flexing. It's about compounding. The rich use debt like a ladder, not a trampoline. They step up, carefully, strategically, and they never forget how high the fall can be. This is the part most people miss. It's not just about debt, it's about mindset. The middle class sees debt as a burden. The wealthy see it as a bridge. One avoids it like fire. The other studies how to hold it without getting burned. If you want to build wealth in this world, you can't just save. You can't just work harder. You have to learn how money moves. And right now, debt is one of the biggest engines of wealth. Not because it's magic, but because when used right, it gives you something most people never get: speed. And in a game where compounding favors the early movers, speed isn't optional. It's everything. Every day you stay on the sidelines. Every day you believe the old rules. Someone else is borrowing their way into a future you won't be part of. This is the new game. You don't have to play recklessly, but you can't afford to sit still. Learn the moves. Use the tools. Build something that pays you, because the truth is, the rich don't fear debt, they master it. And now that you see how they do it, maybe it's time you start thinking the same way. It's not about how much you owe, it's about what it earns. If you like this video, subscribe to Forged in Fortune for more high-level strategies, untold money truths, and mindset shifts to help you build wealth and legacy the smart way.